Welcome back, my dear students. I hope you guys are having fun and I hope you are really awake, okay? Don't fall asleep. Remember what you're doing this for, right? This might look a little long right now or slow, but when you're done with this project, you're going to be a professional, okay? And you're going to make a lot more than what you're making right now. If you don't have a job, you should be able to get one, okay? It's just a matter of finding somebody that will hire your skills. Okay, so let's get to it. Let's go to the project, and this is where we are right now. For some reason, we cannot post data to this route here. Let's find out why. And I'm pretty sure that some of you guys figured this out already, right? All right. So remember that when we submit data, we need to go to our routes first. So let's go to admin and post, right? Well, remember that this is submit and post data. We don't have a route to catch post data. Our routes are catching get data. Okay. So if we go and do this and we change get to post, now that should work, right? Let's just change this to send, and we're going to say worked here. Let's see if this works. I don't remember what I put in the form. I'm just going to go back here, refresh, and submit. Oh, there we go. It's working. See that? Perfect. So now that our form is working, now it's time for us to start playing around with submitting some data, guys. So let's do that. Let's start playing around here. So we want to connect to the database. But before we do that, we need to start thinking about our schema, our database schema. We are connected to the database already, but we need to connect to the database in a way that we can insert data. Right now, we are connected, right? But we need a way to have like methods that can help us insert data. And Mongoose is doing that for us already. We just have to create what's called a model. And we have a model directory here, okay? So let's start creating our models for a post and let's play around with data, okay? So I'm going to create a JavaScript file called post with capital P, okay, .js. And this is how Mongoose is going to help us, okay, with doing our data in that object, inserting our data or manipulating our data in with objects format. So what I want to do here is first of all, I want to include Mongoose because that's what we're going to be using. So Mongoose, there you go. And now Mongoose has different methods that we can use, okay? But first, let's create a variable here to hold our schema. Mongoose has this nice object that we can use or a methods. It's called mongoose.schema with a capital S, schema. There we go. Now we have the schema here. Now we need another variable or constant, should I say, to hold our schema. I'm going to call this post with a capital P, capital S. We're dividing each word by a uppercase. It's just convention. And I'm going to create a new instance of this new schema that I have on top there. See that? But inside here, the parameter is going to be an object. See that? And now we start defining our schema here. So you see what I did? I included Mongoose because that's what we're going to be using. We take out this from Mongoose, okay? We save it in this variable, okay? And now we create a new instance, right, with a parameter as an object parameter inside. But then we call this, we don't have to do that. We could do it like this, or we can go to our app.js and play around with it like this. But we're going to be using this later on. So we're going to be using this whole thing, exporting it out. So we need to have some type of reference. So our post is going to have different data inside. And we know that it's going to have a user. So I'm going to create this object inside. And this is not something that I'm making up. This is how it's done. So we're going to have different objects that are going to define our data inside this object, this huge object. So first is we start with the type, okay? But before we get to user, and this is something that I will explain to you right now, I want to show you how you create data, a simple data, because I'm going to create a different data here, and I'll need to explain that. This data has to do with relationships. So I'm not going to explain that right this instant. What I want to do is I want to create a simple type of data here first. So we defined another object here, and the first thing is we need to tell it the type. So the type is going to be a string. That's going to be our title. It's going to be type string. So only type string or strings can go into this title, okay, in our schema database, okay, in our data schema. And now we can also do authentication here. We get this error if we don't insert a title when we are inserting data to the database. So right now we have authentication here with Mongoose, which I like pretty much. So we have the types with Mongoose, and then we have authentication. There's a lot of documentation about Mongoose and all the authentication that you can do here, but you can do a lot more than what I'm showing you here. This is just something that we need for now. Later on I'll show you a different one. Okay, now we need to do basically the same thing for the rest of the fields. The next one is going to be I think it's the status. Let's go back, and I like to follow a order. So I'm going to go to views, admin, post, and create. We have the title, we have a status, allow comments. Okay. Let's go back to the model. Status, the next one. Then we have allow comments. So status is going to be a string as well. And let me show you this. We could create a default here, and default is going to be public, like this. Now let's go to allow comments. Okay, and the type here is going to be a Boolean, like this, right? And let's make it so that it is required. What else we have? We have a body, right? After, let's double check it. So title, status, allow comments, and body. Title, status, allow comments, and body. There we go. Body is going to be very similar to status. Well, body is yep, actually we need this require, and it's not require, it's true actually. Sorry about that, I just noticed that I repeated that word. There we go. All right, let's double check this. Now on the next lecture I will explain to you about the user, okay? It's because we are going to talk about relationships in a minute, and just a little bit here, so that way you know how this works. Now the last field here, we don't need to put a comma because we don't have anything else following it. Just making sure that this requires all good. The string is starting with a uppercase, the first letter of the type value, uppercase. All right. So on the next lecture, I'm going to explain to you a little bit about relationships. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next lecture.